Hello, it's great to be here at Arts Day. It's been an incredible couple of days, and we're glad to share some advocacy information with you folks on what we've been doing. And first of all, I want to introduce our panelists, and the three that we have on currently are from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction: Lori Carlin, Brandon Roeder, and Sayward Grindley, and I'll let them introduce themselves and their positions. Lori, would you like to start?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Arts Day. My name is Lori Carlin, and I am the section chief for social studies and the arts at DPI. I've been in this role for almost 2 years now, and I absolutely love it and get to work with the most amazing team. I'll let Brandon and Sayward go ahead and introduce themselves now.
Hi, I'm Sayward Grindley. I am the K-12 Dance and Visual Arts Consultant within the Arts Education team. And I started in this role in May and have absolutely loved every minute of it. Thank you.
I'm Brandon Roeder. I am the Music and Theater Arts Consultant, and I started a year ago in September, or at the end of September. So I've been in this role for about 16 months, and we are thrilled to be the ones to help roll out all of the arts ed graduation requirement stuff and all of our support throughout the COVID at-home learning time we've had.
I hope you all have had an opportunity to take a webinar with this team or interact with them in some way. If you haven't, I highly encourage working with them. They are so energetic and so insightful, and I am incredibly fortunate to get to work with them. I know that today we are beginning our conversation talking about the legislation that was passed this summer with the arts education requirement. And I have to tell you, I was a proud high school theater teacher for 16 years. And when this conversation first came up, I remember feeling some hesitancy, as many teachers did, not because we were jerks and didn't want kids to have arts education, but because we recognized the impact it might have on those higher level courses that we got to teach. And so through a lot of inner workings and through the brilliance of Alec and the advocacy organizations, they were able to transform the original legislation to now represent that students must have an arts education requirement in grades 6 through 12. And Brandon's going to talk through specifics of that. But I just wanted to let you all know that as one of those people who was originally hesitant and even grouchy about it, I'm so excited about this opportunity for our students. I really think it is a great investment in our arts programs. And I always say that we are our own best advocates. And I'm hearing from across the state that many programs are suffering because of the pandemic, and there hasn't been an opportunity to recruit and things like that. This is a great moment in time for us to go to our school boards, for us to go to our communities and say, the legislature believes this is a priority. This is, something that we can make happen for our students, and it doesn't need to threaten our upper level courses. It gives our kids a great opportunity to formally have to take an arts education requirement. And so we're really excited about that. And I know that many of you are not in the schools, many of you are community advocates, and I would just ask that you take this information and share it widely and celebrate it, because there are probably still some grouchy teachers like me who might be a little hesitant, and I want to make sure that everybody has the correct information. So because Brandon is much better with specifics, I'm good with big picture things. I'm going to let Brandon give more of the specific information. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and please don't ever hesitate to contact any of us if you have any questions.
Thank you, Lori. So yes, the The legislation passed on July 2nd, and we fairly quickly put together a team within DPI to begin this process. Typically, having a graduation plan doesn't affect any student until they enter grade 9. However, this is a brand new situation because for the first time we have a grad plan that actually is affecting students beginning in 6th grade. And so that process is something we have already started to uncover and build how that's going to work. What that looks like is that students can fulfill this arts education graduation requirement at any point between grades 6 through 12. And so only courses that are officially coded within the PowerSchool structure, for those who know, those begin with the number 5. And those are automatically going to be tracked within PowerSchool. And these are only arts courses. So any sort, or we've heard from the field that there are lots of 6th grade opportunities for students to get a sampling through like a course wheel that might include 9 weeks of music, 9 weeks of theater, 9 weeks of PE, and 9 weeks of Spanish or technology or some other non-arts courses. And those will not actually be tracked as part of or as satisfying the graduation requirement because they are not a complete year-long course of the arts. However, we have made space now through the introduction of some new course codes for a completely arts wheel. So something that might include 9 weeks of visual art, 9 weeks of choir, 9 weeks of theater, 9 weeks of dance that would satisfy this requirement in 6th grade. However, again, if students aren't able to fulfill it in 6th grade, they can try again in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and they are automatically tracked in PowerSchool, so that's not something that has to be done by hand. So we have already figured out the codes and the legal considerations this past winter, and we will begin our communications with the School Board of Education this spring, and we'll actually bring the final policy proposal to the school board this fall, looking to go ahead and ensure that everybody is able to plan course loads appropriately in that winter of 22, and then that it officially implements with the 6th grade class of 22. So, or those entering into 6th grade in 22. So if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to anyone at DPI Arts Ed team and we are happy to answer any questions or take anything into consideration. Thanks. Back to you, Pat. I believe you're muted, Pat.
Sorry, folks. I am now unmuted. One thing that Brandon and Lori did not mention is that we have been working on this arts education requirement bill for more than 10 years, and Arts North Carolina has really been a lead on this from the very beginning. But the takeaway from this, and we'll talk about it more later, but the takeaway from this is that advocacy does work. And yeah, it might take 10 years, but you just got to keep working at it. So I'm really, really happy to introduce Ashley Perkinson. She is the NCMEA lobbyist, and she's going to share with us today the importance of advocacy. And she's down at the legislative building all the time, building really solid relationships across the aisle with education leadership. And she's here to share a little bit of her work and our advocacy work. So Ashley.
Thank you so much, Pat, and good afternoon, everyone. And really want to thank Nate for bringing us all together. And a special thank you to the lobbyists for Arts North Carolina, Ken Melton, Stephen Kuba, Andy Chase. It's been a really productive partnership, and we also enjoy working together, which makes an added bonus. but really want to talk about our work with arts advocacy and more particularly for the North Carolina Music Educators Association, music education advocacy. And one of the aspects of music education advocacy that I think has been so powerful, and this is the case for broader arts advocacy as well, is you really have a secret weapon. And that is, of course, arts is universal. Music is the universal language. And we really have made an effort to connect with our policymakers, connect with legislators. One of the first things that we ask when we have meetings with education chairs and with legislators throughout the General Assembly is what background they have in music education. And more often than not, legislators do have a background, whether that's playing an instrument in band or, for instance, with Representative Jeffrey Elmore, who is an arts teacher. And so there are so many connections to the arts and so many ways to have these conversations that it's not political at all. We take, the politics out of it and really focus on those core advocacy for arts and making sure our students in our schools in North Carolina are getting a strong arts education and that we're supporting our arts teachers throughout the state. Something that I think along those lines that more specifically we've been able to do is to share performances. In the past, we have celebrated March as Music in Our Schools Month. And of course, this March, we are continuing to celebrate March Music in Our Schools Month. Before COVID, we would put together and really with Pat's leadership with the North Carolina Music Educators Association, concerts at the Capitol. So we would have student performances at the Capitol on Wednesdays throughout March, and we would invite legislators to attend those performances. There were times that legislators would get emotional. They were so moved by the performances, and it really struck a chord with the music education and helping them to understand the power of the arts. That landscape, of course, has looked different through the pandemic, but one example of just a tremendous way that our music educators have been creative through this pandemic is the beautiful music video, We Rise. The North Carolina Music Educators Association President, Carol Earnhardt, is the choral director at Glenn High School, and she worked with other choral directors throughout Winston-Salem and Forsyth County to put together this amazing choral video of so many students, both students and adults from the Triad choral group there. And we have sent that video to many of our legislative leaders, also to State Superintendent Truitt. And we were able to connect with State Superintendent Truitt, and she put together a wonderful video introduction talking about March Music in Our Schools Month and arts education. She herself is a classically trained pianist. Her father is a band director, so she has that music education background as well. So really kind of the goodwill lobbying aspect and kind of the soft touch of advocacy has been one of those aspects of arts education advocacy that I think has been most effective and has helped us open the door to make strides. And as Pat mentioned, it was certainly a long effort and a partnership with Arts North Carolina leading the charge for so many years, and our work together over the last few sessions, and just really glad to see the arts education graduation requirement make it over the finish line in North Carolina this last session. But I think showing those creative ways that our music educators have been able to still keep the music going through this pandemic has been so powerful. I think that's been one of the silver linings of the pandemic, that we're able to share that creativity and how the music just continues to go on. And, something that we communicated actually today, we had a meeting with one of the Arts Caucus caucus chairs, and we discussed just how music educators in a lot of ways have been impacted differently from other educators through the pandemic. Of course, with choral groups being severely limited early on, and then with the wind instruments in the band, there are just some unique challenges that have faced music educators that have been really significant this year, and we want to make sure that we're communicating those challenges to our policymakers. Because of those challenges, one of the areas that we're really focused on is making sure that school districts are held harmless, that we still have the funding in place so that we're able to make sure we're continuing to support our arts educators in K-12 in our public schools in North Carolina. And that has been a theme with the North Carolina Music Educators Advocacy priorities through this process. There are also, in addition to some of the big items that we think about with salaries and resources, but there are also other ways, they're kind of more nuanced ways that it's good to keep an ear out for policies that can enhance arts education in the state. One example I'll give is a bill that is working its way through the General Assembly. It's House Bill 82. It's the Summer Learning Bill that was introduced in the House, received overwhelming support by legislators in the House. But if you notice in one of the provisions where it talks about the courses that will be offered, it does make the point of saying that arts, it includes arts in those provisions. And so I think always being on the lookout for bills and policies that may not include arts, and that there's an opportunity to get that inserted. Of course, that with Representative Elmore being an arts educator, I think that was a natural fit that he wanted to make sure that that was in there, but that may not always be the case. So making sure that we're paying attention to legislation as it is adopted. But advocacy for the arts really has been such a joy for me, and working with this amazing creative group of leaders. I see Deborah Horton on the call as well. And I actually years ago got my start in advocacy work and in lobbying, working with Deborah when she was executive director of the North Carolina PTA. So there are just so many wonderful contributors to this arts advocacy. And Brandon, thank you so much for your discussion on, now that we have passed the arts education graduation requirement at the General Assembly, working to see that implemented through the state board and then provided for students in our schools. And I think, again, with the pandemic and all the challenges we've seen, I don't think the timing could have been any better for that arts education graduation requirement to be adopted. I think hopefully that will provide us support as we continue to advocate for the arts, since there's been so much concern with students being out of school, but making sure our policymakers don't lose track of the importance of arts. And also, as we talked about today down at the General Assembly, for so many kids, it's the arts that really keep them excited about getting up and going to school in the morning. And we just want to keep that alive for them, and to continue to advocate to make sure we're supporting our music educators, our arts educators, and also those students who enjoy their classes so much. So with that, I'll turn it over back to Pat, unless there are questions.
I don't see any questions in the chat, and we're going to have a Q&A at the end of the session for everyone. So, and Ashley, I was remembering some of the things we've done that you didn't quite mention is that in 2019, we had Nia Franklin, who was Miss America, who was a graduate of North Davidson High School and went on into a music career. And we brought her alma mater's choir to the Capitol, and Nia sang with them. And Nia visited legislators, and she spoke on the House floor and she spoke on the Senate floor. And it really it really brought the advocacy forward with our legislators, having that kind of a personality in the room. And she was very articulate and great. Ashley also mentioned the video from Superintendent Truitt. And also this year we have somebody who's in the Miss America program as well, Miss Gastonia, who is a music educator in Cleveland County. And she did a video for us about the importance of music education and thanking the legislature this year. So we don't have them all loaded up, and but you can go out and look. Just go to the NCMEA YouTube channel, and they're both there, and they're only 2 minutes long, so it won't take a lot of time. So yeah, so just go visit those, and yeah, we were thrilled with Superintendent Truitt's video and Miss Gastonia's. So I'm just going to take a quick look at our agenda here, and I guess it's my turn in Sayward. I think you were going to share the your screen. We're going to talk a little bit about the Arts Education Leadership Coalition. This is really the group that worked together for over 10 years to get this arts education bill put together. More recently, though, we worked on the arts ed requirement. North Carolina music educators took the lead, but brought in our colleagues in arts and dance and theater when ESSA was being passed. That's the federal arts requirement, where music was enumerated. Music and arts were enumerated in that federal bill, which was a huge step. But then the states had to make their own ESSA plans, and we acted as stakeholders around the state, going to some of those meetings. We had our members join those meetings and talk about the importance of music and arts education with the leaders of DPI and the folks that were planning how ESSA was going to fit into North Carolina. So that's one project that took a lot of our time several years ago. The biggie that kind of coalesced us even more recently, if y'all remember, was the K-3 class size issue, where they wanted to decrease the number of students in K-3 classrooms, and the ripple effect of those policy decisions were going to affect music and arts programs going into the upper level. So actually that's when we met Ashley through the ESSA work, but we brought her in and her colleague Rachel Bilyeu during this K-3 class size issue, and we could not have made it through that without the professional lobbying help and their relationships with legislators down on Jones Street in Raleigh. So I just wanted to share, I think, Sayward, who's in this Arts Education Leadership Coalition? And I think we have pictures of all of our lovely little faces.
Yeah, so we'll give you the link to this website in just a moment, but you can scroll through. This page talks all about the Arts Education Leadership Coalition and the current project. So this is a great page to bookmark and come to on a regular basis. But if you scroll through the slide deck, you can see, obviously, there's Lori and I and Brandon. And then we have Jamie Bream from North Carolina Bandmasters Association, Rebecca Dow from NCAEA, Carol Earnhardt from NCMEA as well, Pat Hall, Angie Hayes from North Carolina Theater Conference, Nate from Arts NC, Jose from the North Carolina chapter of American Choral Directors Association. Do you want me to go through all of these or just kind of click through? Yeah, we have NCDEO, NCAEA again, NCTEAE. So there's quite a few organizations that are all part of this wonderful group, putting their heads together to meet on a regular basis.
Yeah, we, all of us, so it's music, arts, theater, and dance. When COVID hit last spring and didn't know what school opening was going to look like, I think we met, guys, didn't we meet like weekly? Trying to get our head around what the CDC policies were and the NCDHH policies were. And we wrote, and as you saw on that page, we wrote a document called Recommendations for School Reopening. And we all had our input and, you know, what the implications were for dance, and yeah, there's that great thing. And this is a live document. We're continuing to add to it. And now that there's some new CDC guidelines out, I think we need to pull together and schedule another meeting so we can update this document on what it means for us. But it gave, and early on, it gave recommendations to teachers working in school systems on how they can continue to do the arts safely in schools with mitigation techniques and other recommendations through DHHS. We also shared this document last June or July with DHHS. We managed to get an inroad into Dr. Mandy Cohen and her staff. And so we shared it, our recommendations with them, and we also shared them through the governor's office, through his education person in the governor's office. So those are the things that we've been working on all summer and will continue to work on. So I think that's it for arts education. And Nate, oh my gosh, Nate McGackey has been a great leader of this. And prior to him, Karen Wells, who I know a lot of people in this audience know, who if you've been coming to Arts Day for years like I have, know who the leaders are through that organization, and their team and their lobbyists, as Ashley mentioned. We've all worked together, and that's how we can be successful. So I'm going to share a new campaign. It's a national campaign. And when I first saw this, it kind of like blew my mind. And I went, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so easy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So the National Association for Music Education, NAM, which is the National Association for Music Merchants. And I don't know how many of you out in our audience have heard about Bob Morrison from New Jersey. The New Jersey Arts Education, similar coalition to what we have here, has been a leader in arts education advocacy. So they, I'm going to share my screen and share screen. So this is called the Arts Are Education Campaign. And it's as you can read on the screen, it's a national campaign in support of arts education for all students. And as I go through this, and I'm going to show you how easy peasy this is, but I also want to ask you, everybody in this audience, to do 3 things. And it's all right here. You don't have to go anywhere else. The first thing that I'm going to ask is to sign the pledge. And I've already done this. There's a pledge right here about how important arts education is. I don't need to read this for you because we all can read, but you just fill in this form. You share who you are in the community. I said that, I said an other because I'm not a school administrator. And then you check the boxes below and it goes off, and boom, you are part of a national campaign for arts education advocacy. The other thing that's really important about this is they do have write your legislators, and that would certainly be a great I'm loading here, be a great thing to do, telling about yourself. And actually what you can do here, this is real simple too. So I'm Pat Hall. That's my work number. And my home address is 405 Morrison Ave in Raleigh, NC. There we go. And then you hit next. And my representatives in North Carolina are David Martin in the House and Senator Chaudhry in the Senate. Boom, next. Are you sure? Yep. I mean, if you want to personalize it, we totally recommend doing that, but for this demonstration, I just kind of bumped through it. But hey, takes less than 2 minutes. This is easy. Sorry, my computer's a little bit slow. I guess it's all the sharing that we're doing here. So I'll let that go. The other thing that's really important about this campaign and what's happening right now, and we've got to get working on it because where is the Advocacy Toolkit? Right now, your school boards are working on their budgets for 21-22. And those budgets need to include the arts and the music and the arts. We don't want, there's going to be some talk about remediation for the core subjects like math and English and all that. But we really need to maintain arts programs in the school year and beyond. And Ashley even mentioned, making sure that we don't look at the current school year in attendance and funding because it's an anomaly, and that we really need to keep our budgets in place and not lose music and arts educators. So there's this resolution that we would like all 115 school districts in North Carolina to sign. So if you, no matter what county you're in, if you know your school board chair or anybody else on your school board, we are asking that you connect with them and try and get your local school boards to sign this resolution. And it's just really important that this happens sooner rather than later, because once budgets are made and approved, that's pretty much it. The other thing that is happening through this Arts Ed campaign is they'll get back to you, and I get some follow-up and all sorts of other information from them and thanking me for signing the pledge and have I, talked to my school board and things like that. For those of us who don't know how school boards work, this is a great little guide for really how budgets are made in school boards. And yeah, there's probably some differences in different states and stuff and in different school systems, but this is a really good tool to take a look at and read. So 3 things, 3 takeaway. Sign the pledge yourself, write your local school board, and try and advocate for your local school board to sign the resolution. And if we can do that in all 115 school systems, that'd be great. I have heard through the grapevine that Charlotte Mack has already signed this. And we need to start, I need to get some buddies in Wake County and start working on this as well. Some of my board members who are teachers in Wake County. So that's where we are on this. It's an incredible campaign. It's, as I said, it's easy, it's simple, everything's right here for you. And we just need to share this out. So thank you for that. And I'm going to go back to taking a peek at my agenda. And I think that's where we are. And I think if anybody, I guess it's time to open up for Q&A.
Yes, and I'll take this opportunity right now to let everybody know that please to type your questions in the Q&A. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be able to see the questions that you type there, but we will not be able to see what you type into the chat that's in the platform.
Does anybody else want to add anything while we're waiting for some questions? Okay. I'm not, oh, I'm on, I need to turn off the participants and open Q&A.
I don't see any questions so far. Seems to be kind of a quiet group. Perhaps you covered
Yeah.
everything so thoroughly.
Right, right.
Do you want to talk at all about any initiatives that are coming up? Is there anything on the horizon that's coming that you didn't talk about that you might be able to add?
Yeah, we are, I just want to emphasize that we're working closely with the staff at NCDPI to make sure that all the arts in this new requirement are really being served. And Brandon and Lori and Sayward are doing a great job of this. And we're going to continue to monitor this through our lobbyists and through the staff as this process goes forward. Ashley I think, we've got our three issues on our statement. I don't see anything else really coming down the pike.
Right. Those are the main priority areas that we have outlined. That's right, Pat. But I think it is good to keep in mind, this is really an unprecedented year with the long session, because we have, a significant amount of federal funds coming from the American Rescue Plan. So legislators will be looking at allocating those funds. In addition, of course, looking at developing a state budget this year, and the Senate is slated to develop its state budget first. Of course, we're looking forward to seeing the governor's proposed budget coming out this week. So, a lot of discussion about the state budget and what the next fiscal year will look like. So this is a great opportunity, as Pat mentioned, with those three asks in reaching out to the local school boards. This is also a great opportunity to reach out to your legislators, again, with those same messages about the impact that you have with your students and the difference arts education makes in their educational career and academic success and social and emotional well-being. But this is a great time and opportunity for that outreach. Legislators, really want to hear from you. We are today and then tomorrow, of course, celebrating Arts Day and reaching out to legislators as well. But, they really love to hear from their constituents back home. And also, we've got new leadership in both the House and the Senate on the education committees. Senator Ballard and Senator Lee on the Senate side are the two education co-chairs. And then on the House side, Representative Torbett and Representative Blackwell are the Education Policy Committee chairs. And then also Representative Hurley and Representative Hardister on the Education Appropriation Committee, along with Representative Torbett and Representative Blackwell. Of course, Representative Elmore, who's one of the Arts Caucus co-chairs, has been promoted to be one of the Appropriation Big Chairs. So a lot of interest, of course, in education with this new leadership of the education committees, but they need to hear from us since we do have some new folks sitting in leadership on those committees.
Yeah, I think since we do have a little bit of time and no questions, I can add some information.
We do have some questions.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, if we can address one of them, just talking
Sure.
about, Lori has answered most of them, but just share out with everybody. If students take middle school arts classes, does it have to be 1 year? Or can it be split between years? At this point, we aren't able to track half credits or half classes. And so at this point, our ability is to take one full year-long credit or class to fulfill that. Again, if that's not the structure of the middle school, then it can always be something that is taken care of at the high school level. That's the flexibility we have as a 6 through 12 mandate.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm not seeing all the chats. I'd like to add a little bit. The North Carolina Music Educators Association had the ability to provide some funding for the aerosol study. And I think many of you have probably heard about the International Coalition for the Performing Arts to study aerosol in the classrooms. And so by NCMEA making that contribution, we have now, kind of gotten in the, are invited to some meetings. And a lot of this information is on the National Federation of High School Scholastics website, NFHS. Actually, I was on a meeting with them this morning. The aerosol study is still being working through publication and peer review. We unfortunately don't have a date for the release of that, but that, if you're not familiar with it, that's where we're getting most of the information on mitigation techniques, on aerosol in classrooms, some of the distancing things that we need to do with instruments and singing, and also dance and theater. So that's been really, really wonderful and helpful. Some of the other things that group is working on that may pertain to those of you who are working in the schools and even presenting art is they're working with music publishers on how we can teach without going through all the copyright stuff that happens, and there's a ton of information on their website about copyright, and they've been working with most of the publishers on how educators can share music and other copyright information in their classroom. So if that's something that you have an issue with, I recommend going to their website. And Brandon will know this, that Bob Morrison was on the call this morning, and there's going to be another announcement on social emotional learning coalition coming out tomorrow. So the New Jersey website and Brandon, remind me, what's it, Castle? They're all coming together, and there's going to be a big announcement at the federal level, I think, in the, I can't remember now exactly what he said. I didn't take notes this morning, but yeah, there's a lot going on in the state, but there's some incredible stuff also going on in the federal level. And, when we came into COVID, we are really all working on this together and sharing. I've heard what's happening in Wisconsin and Kansas and what they're doing in marching band. And, there's just some really incredible work going on out, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. We're all going through the same thing, and we're really sharing a lot. So if you need any more resources, feel free to connect with me and I can share them with you directly. Brandon, any more on SEL?
Yeah, I would just say that, we have recognized that you are hearing this first, that our educators also need some self-care tools, some ways that they can meet their own SEL needs. So this Friday is National SEL Day, and I will just say that DPI is going to be rolling something out for adult SEL. We are going to announce it this Friday, so stay tuned to our social media and our listservs, and we're doing lots of partnerships with lots of different organizations, so they will also be pushing it out on their listservs as well. So stay tuned.
Well, I think that's great. Is there any more Q&A? I haven't, Christine, anybody?
I think everything's been answered. Lori has pretty much answered everything.
Okay.
There was a lot of confusion about that middle school half
Right.
half a year courses. I think that's still kind of a confusing issue. So I'm sure that will be cleared up before the law is actually implemented.
Right, and I
Yes.
know Brandon shares a lot of stuff through the NCDPI listserv. I mean, you have stuff coming out all the time, and he can share it with us, and we can put it on our websites and share it through our e-newses and that kind of stuff too. So there's 5 minutes left in the schedule, or nobody minds going home early, right? So.
Well, we
Yeah.
do have a one more session and one
Okay.
more artist spotlight. We have William Henry Curry,
Yeah.
who is going to speak about his career in classical music. And I know that may be of great interest to some of you music teachers. And then we have a lovely performance by the Durham Symphony that's going to cap that off and cap our day off. And I wanted to just say, you might have seen a notification pop up. We have our survey link available. There's an announcement in the lobby, or everybody got a notification about it. Please take our survey, because we'd love to find out what you loved about this year and what we can do to improve for next year. So please fill out that survey. Do you guys have anything else, or should we just go ahead and end a few minutes early?
I think we're all good. And I really appreciate everyone on this committee and your time today. And just, as we always say, let us know if you have any questions. We're all available. So thank you for your time. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you, all of you, for coming. I know arts education is we had a good number of people in this session today, because we have a great number of arts educators, probably more than we've ever had at Arts Day, and I hope that continues.
That's
So
great.
thanks you everyone for coming, and we'll see you at the next session, which starts at 4:30.
Yeah, Bill Curry's great. I worked with him at the symphony. Go see
Okay,
him.
great, wonderful.
Bye.